If you like guns, gears, knives, and gadgets, I've got something for you. The KA-BAR Short Black Tanto. A little history on KA-BAR knives, though, if you don't already know, is KA-BAR knives started out as the Union Cutlery Company. In 1923, they received a letter from a fur trapper who killed a bear with his Union Cutlery knife. The story, or the letter that Union Cutlery received, was barely legible, but the letters KA-BAR were legible. And so they deemed it the KA-BAR, or Kill-A-Bear. They liked it so much that they named 3 different pocket knife models after it. They had the, I believe it was the baby bear, the baby grizzly, or something like that, and then another. They were folding pocket knives. I'm not sure of the exact models, but they named them the KA-BAR series, or KA-BAR series. In 1942, though, is when KA-BAR really got famous and their history really was rewritten for them. In 1942, our soldiers were deeply involved into World War II, and they really, the Marine Corps especially, really needed a good knife. A lot of them were using hand-me-down knives from the World War I era. They were using inferior quality knives from other manufacturers. And the Marine Corps realized they had a knife issue problem. So they sent out a request to various knife manufacturers to manufacture a knife to fill their need. They needed something. Some of the old World War I knives had a loop around the handle, and it wasn't a very good tactical fighting knife. They needed something that was better for stabbing, cutting, general purpose knife. Now, this was not the knife that they used at that time, but a lot of the features in this knife, that knife had clear back then. KA-BAR finally became the, I believe, the primary manufacturer of the knives that the Marine Corps finally decided on. And it was a huge success. Marines loved it. It was strong, it was durable, it surpassed every test our military put it through, including deeply jamming it and hammering it into a 6x6 chunk of wood, and then at radical angles bending the blade to see the strength and test of it without it failing. All the other branches of the military, the Navy, the Army, National Guard, all eventually adopted that KA-BAR knife, and it became the primary issue knife throughout World War II. A lot of our soldiers continued to carry that knife through Korea, and then a lot of them had it handed down to them, and or purchased and used that one as their personal choice knife in Vietnam and even into Desert Storm. KA-BAR stopped manufacture of that model that was in World War II for 32 years. After 32 years, the Marine Corps had their 200th anniversary, and KA-BAR decided to remanufacture a limited edition of those knives to the exacting standards that was manufactured to in 1942, and it was a huge success. Knife collectors, military personnel, and everybody bought them out. KA-BAR realized there's still a market for that knife, so they started reproducing it. In the meantime, KA-BAR has made many other models of knives. They're all based out of Olean, New York, and they're fantastic. This, the Short Black Tanto, happens to be one of them. It also has the 1095 Provence steel, just like that USMC Marine Corps knife did. It has the steel butt cap, pinned, just like the original one did. Has a full tang, runs all the way down. You can see the end of the tang there, just like the original one did. This has a Creighton G polymer handle on it, whereas the originals had a stacked leather handle. I personally like the Creighton G handle on this better than the stacked leather handle. I think that it's going to hold up to outdoor environments and inclement weather better than the leather handle. However, that leather handle was time tested and improved. I got to tell you though, I've never seen the handle on this one because it came wrapped from my father in his paracord, and I've never unwrapped it. Curiosity has made me want to unwrap it a few times, and I never have, because every time I pick this knife up, it reminds me of my dad, and so I leave it. With that being said, I hate strings, I hate lanyards, I hate straps. I don't like stuff dangling. I've said that before in other videos. I will always say that. I leave this one. This is the only one I'll probably make an exception for. At this time, I leave it. Why don't I like stuff dangling? Straps, lanyards? Because every time, more often than not, I can be using this. Just imagine me cutting some limbs on a tree, and this hooks a little stub on the trunk of the tree, and it rips it right out of my hand. I don't like that. I've had this knife stored in its sheath, and I'll get to the sheath here in a minute. Had it stored in the door pocket of my truck where I keep all kinds of stuff in there. I've got wrenches, screwdrivers, various tools in there, tire pressure gauges. I've reached in there to grab this knife, and because of the string on it, it used to have a string dangling off of the sheath. I did take that one off. Stuff would end up laying on top of it, and when I'd pull it out of the door pocket, it would come out of the pocket with it, fall on my toes. I just believe that dangling straps and lanyards, unless they're needed, they're out of here. I think they're a safety issue. This one, I'll make an exception for. This knife here, 2 years, never been sharpened by me. Hasn't been sharpened at all since it was new. And it is still, to this day, it needs a sharpening. But to this day, it's still sharper than a lot of new knives that I've ever used. I've cut through 2-inch diameter, this is no joke, I've cut through 2-inch diameter live saplings with it, chopping it out just like you would a hatchet or with a machete, and it's done an extremely good job. I've cut small strands of wire, I've cut rope, string, stabbing. Oh, here's a story for you. Here's a good one. This is a real story too. Up on the mountain, I was cruising up a mountain road one night, dark out, in my truck. Come around the corner and here's some high school teenage boys on the side of the road, broke down out here in the mountains. He was driving like a late 80s model Ford Escort. I'm not sure what it was. But the sway bar that went from one side of the vehicle to the other had come disconnected from the driver's side, and the A-arm, it wasn't a true A-arm suspension. It had a single arm and a single attachment point at the frame, and the sway bar attached to it, and that's what kept that arm from going back and forth, unlike a conventional double A-arm suspension. So it had to have that sway bar in place for the suspension and steering to work properly. He had lost a nut, he had lost a washer, it had come apart, he was stranded, bad deal. I found a beer can, I crunched it up, smashed it flat, folded it over with a hammer, gave it like 4 or 5 folds to make it as thick and dense of a beer can as I could. Then I took this knife and I punched a hole through it and made a round hole in the center and created a washer out of it. I found a nut to also fit and got him back on the road, got him back into town. There you go. Beer can washer, this knife. Awesome story. I'll tell you, this knife, in my opinion, if you're a knife collector, if you're an outdoorsman, if you're a hunter, a fisherman, this knife or any other KA-BAR variant of it is a great choice. The retail on this on KA-BAR.com has this exact knife right here with the same sheath I've got for it at $82.19. That's money well spent. Here's the sheath. The sheath is a Kydex-like sheath. I've been told, I've heard that it is not Kydex, that it is some other form of polymer plastic. I don't know exactly what kind of plastic it is. It looks and feels like Kydex to me, so I call it Kydex. It has the one strap right here. Here, let me grab this knife. It has the one strap right here, and it locks in, snaps in very good, never comes out. I've had it strapped, shoulder straps like this, hanging upside down, never had a problem. On my belt, on my side, on a backpack. This knife is very configurable to whatever system and however you want to carry it very nicely. MOLLE compatible, as they call it, with the slots. It's got belt loop here, nylon, 3 rivets holding that belt loop, the nylon belt loop in place. It has the one strap here that comes from the back side, over the top, over the guard, also further retains it. Then it has this one here, which I never use. I can snap it, but it's extremely tight because of the added paracord. But I can get it here, I'll get it. There we go. It's tight. I never use that one. Never see a need to use it. With the, I'll turn it this way. With the clip right here that the guard snaps into, pretty secure. And then when you throw this one over the top of it, there's no need for this one here. It's just redundant in my opinion, so I don't use it. This to me is a huge bonus. It's secure, it's quiet, it doesn't make any noise, it's tough, it's stout, it's strong. I can attach it and affix it in so many different configurations. It gives me options. That was a gripe of mine on the Gerber Gator Junior machete. I just did a review on that one, and the sheath for that sucked. I talked about some of the disadvantages with that sheath. It was a nylon sheath. This sheath here, amazing. The sheath is made in Taiwan, unfortunately. The knife is not. The knife is USA made. The sheath is made in Taiwan, so KA-BAR outsourced the sheaths. That's okay. It does have the KA-BAR name on the sheath, however. And even though that it's made in Taiwan, I don't see a quality issue with it at all. Incredible sheath. Very pleased with it. Very happy. Some of the other stats of this knife. The edges are 20-degree angle. See if I can get you. I don't know if that camera is going to focus in on that or not. If not, I'll take a picture and throw it up. 20-degree angle V grind and the 1095 Crovan steel. The blade length is 5 1/4 inches. The overall length is basically 9 3/8 of an inch overall length. Blade thickness 0.165. Butt cap is a powdered metal, so it's they're not saying it's steel, so excuse me there. Feels and looks like steel to me. It's a powdered metal though, apparently. Just amazing. I don't have the weight for you here on this right now. I'll try to throw the weight in before this video goes live on YouTube for you guys. A couple more close-up pictures of the serrations. Incredibly sharp. Everything from barbecuing to camping to hunting to dressing out animals to working around on the homestead and farm to, I mean, this thing is dressed out several animals of various types. Not needed resharpened. If I was to do an elk or something, I'm not being stupid here. If I was to do an elk or big game, moose, yeah, it's probably going to need resharpened by the time I'm done with that animal. I'm going to be realistic. But many smaller animals, I've done a lot of them, and it's still not been sharpened, and it's still doing sufficiently well. Could not be happier with this blade. There you have it. That's my review for the KA-BAR Short Black Tanto. Amazing knife. Tactical duty, that's what it's designed for. Tactical use. Works great for hunting and other purposes too. Enjoy, folks.